First, let me say to you that the things that you hear me say on my show are my opinion. I put things out there that I research and I look at that are posted on reputable news sources. From, if there is reputable news sources, that might be a bit of an oxymoron nowadays. But now, why is this subject on my list? And I decided to go with it. Let's go ahead and play the tape of Janet Mills, the governor of Maine, with the president at the White House.
Like 2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue, because you'll never win another race. The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
So you can clearly see that Mills, the governor, her intent seems to be that she's going to defy the federal order signed by the president, and she's going to see him in court. She's gonna. So I'm not familiar, nor did I look up what Maine's state laws are, but I would think that a federal order would, no pun intended, trump that, and she has no intention of following that. I'll see you in court, so she's going to do. Here's my problem with that. Whether she has a trans daughter or a trans son or something that has hit home for her, or she has a large contingency that have expressed their opinions to her, and she's even just trying to represent them as she should in the state of Maine. I'm not aware of some gigantic trans population that looks at this any differently than about 8 out of every 10 Americans. Okay, so let me tell you what has put this on the forefront too, along with Madam Mills and her obstinance at the White House. Leah Catherine Thomas is an American swimmer. She was the first openly transgender athlete to win an NCAA Division I national championship. So this has been in the press. Here's a woman, I guess we're going to call her a woman. I think she identifies now as a woman. That was a man that competed on the UPenn swim team for men, has now going through the transition and decided that she identifies herself as a woman, and she should be entitled to compete with other women. So let's lay out some of the science first. I think it's very important. I'm going to run through a couple of things that I need to read to you. Men have several physical advantages over women in sports, including more muscle mass, larger hearts and lungs, and more red blood cells. These differences are due to sex hormones and anatomy. Men have more muscle mass than women, especially in their upper bodies. Muscle mass represents about 35% of men's body weight, compared to 28% for women. Almost kind of why are we having this conversation? I really do. I'm dumbfounded by the attention, that the idea that this is the first time that we're seeing this kind of stuff go out there. Men have greater lung capacity and improved blood flow to the heart. Men have more red blood cells than women. Red blood cells absorb oxygen, which gives men an aerobic advantage. Testosterone is a sex hormone that increases muscle and bone building in men. Testosterone also increases lung function and improves blood flow to the heart. So there are absolute, unequivocal scientific reasons why there's an NBA and there's a WNBA. There's reasons why in track and field there's men's track and women's track. There's a reason why we've separated this all along, because now, is there a Babe Zaharias? Is there a female ever in the history that could have competed on a male team? I guess maybe, I guess maybe. Has there ever been a female? I looked this up and the answer was no. Has there ever been a female that broke a male track record in the history of track? No, there never has been. No woman has ever long jumped the world record. No woman has ever, not that there haven't been women that might have jumped longer than a guy, the longest jump 30 years before that. Women have, continued to increase and excel and set new boundaries and new record-breaking numbers. But there has never been a woman run the 100 and break the current male 100 world record. There's never been a single track event that a woman has broken a male record, which is why they separate the two. Because physiologically, are there women that are tougher athletes, that are mentally tougher? I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that women do better than men.
When I watch sports, I be thinking about, think about, okay, say LeBron James changed his gender. You know what I mean? Okay, can he stay in the NBA, or because he's a woman, does he have to go to the WNBA where he will score 840 points a game? What does it actually mean to be equal? You know what I mean? Like, if women are actually equal to men, then there would be no WNBA, would there? You would just be good enough to play in the NBA with us. Or, here's another idea that's gonna be very controversial. You could shut the fuck up.
You can see that Chappelle says, well, maybe you should just be quiet, and so again, the harshness of that, I'm not subscribing to. It was a joke that he was saying, but the point of it is very valid. The point of it is super valid during what's going on right now, because it would be unfair. The idea behind making this a federal mandate was because there were people that were confused as to why it protects the women and the girls. Hey, I don't want my daughter, who's a volleyball player, to have a guy come rifle the ball down her throat that played on the guys' team last year and has now decided that he identifies as. There's a small number, I think we're talking about a very small number of transgender athletes that this affects, and maybe we should find something for them to do amongst themselves. Maybe there should be some kind of a league, or are there enough players that would want to play each other? And we would branch this off into some way where it's fair for them to identify and be psychologically and emotionally satisfied while they play amongst each other, because it is absolutely not fair for a former identified as a man or former born a man. If you were born with the sexual organs of a man or a woman, that, in my opinion, will define where you are allowed to or not allowed to compete, no matter what kind of treatments you get, no matter how you think of yourself or what pronouns you use or whatever it is. And this is kind of I don't want to say, because I don't want to denounce or minimize how someone feels that identifies this. I mean, this must be a grueling adventure. I look at Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn, and I knew Bruce. I knew Bruce. We played golf together. We both lived out in Malibu. During different periods of time and things that have occurred in his life, I would text him or call him to see how he's doing. We weren't as close as we were in the early '90s before all the Kardashian stuff really blew up. And I knew Bruce. He was my friend. He was a guy that would go to these celebrity golf things, and and I admired him. He was one of my heroes. Winning that decathlon and being named the world's greatest athlete. What an incredible, as a an athlete myself, to attain that level. I used to look up to him very much so. And I'm not saying I don't look up to him now because of the choices that he's made. I don't identify with him anymore. I can't imagine, what he's going through. But it sounds to me, when you watch him and you listen to the things he said, and he still says, it must have been very hard for him those years before he just came out and said, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to be. It sounds like it was torturous in some ways. He's fathered children while he was still on the other side. And I think that had to be hard for my friend. I didn't realize that he was going through that at that level. So, I don't know what that would be like. I don't really speak with Caitlin at all. I don't know Caitlin, but I know Bruce. And I remember Bruce, and I kidded with Bruce and spent hours and hours and hours on golf courses and at events with Bruce. And I cared about him. He was my friend. So I don't want to take away from what any of these, especially the young athletes that we're talking about that are going through this, that they feel trapped. I can read about it. I can listen to them talk about it. I can't say that I can really experience it or share it with them, but I certainly am in touch enough with my humanity and understanding of words that I think that anyone that's in a position where they feel they're imprisoned or they're not able to express themselves as an actor, I express myself all the time, and I don't have a problem with it. But I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to minimize and just say, oh, we should cast away these people. I just don't think it's fair. And I don't think hardly anybody, I want to know, I'm going to ask you the question of who's the 20%? Who's the 20%? And I'll explain. But there's another aspect of this that I want to touch base with, that, in talking with or watching more the reports of other athletes and what they say. I read this and I thought, and then I researched it a little bit more. I hadn't given this a lot of thought. Allowing men in women's sports gives biological males access to intimate spaces where women are vulnerable, including locker rooms and bathrooms. Biological males in intimate women's spaces creates opportunities for sexual assault, including rape. Now, I mean, that's a powerful ending to that statement. But I will say this, regardless of could it lead to being rape? I mean, obviously, God forbid we ever would do anything that would sanction or make that easier from someone. But even the part about intimidating someone or having someone have to modify their behavior in a place like a locker room. Now, I know that for me in high school and college, and even today at the gym, there are the guys that walk into the locker room and just take their clothes off and throw their towel over their shoulder and walk into the shower. And then there are guys who, hide in the corner and they're very private. They're very private. I don't want to say that they're shy or that but they're more private about it. And again, we can get into 100 reasons why. But nevertheless, having someone, if I was in the locker room before a match, if I was in the locker room at the country club, and a woman walked by naked in front of me, I would find that to be a tremendous distraction, and I would find that to be inappropriate. I think the reverse of that, having a male, which is more of a powerful figure, because of let's face it, we don't see a lot of sexual abuse from women over men. We see it from men over women, society-wise. So I would see how that would be difficult in a college locker room, in a high school locker room, with all the different emotions and hormones that are taking place, and things changes that are going on in ninth, seventh, eighth, ninth grade. That would be just a tough thing to have. And would my daughter who plays volleyball feel safe with some guy taking his underwear off in front of her before a volleyball match, even on her own team? I don't think so. I think that would make her very uncomfortable. I think that would make her I've never asked her, but I think that would make her, and any high school athlete, any high school female. So there's this aspect of this intimacy that is not, it doesn't seem natural. I always thought it was kind of weird that, for some guys, if they were gay, and guys you suspected were gay, or guys that later on in my career I knew were gay, and they were in the locker room, did that trigger them sexually? Did that make them arouse them in any way, that I'm running around with a towel on going in there? Because I wasn't trying to do that. I was going to take my shower after playing 18 holes of golf, and I wanted to go to the banquet afterwards, like most of the other men that were in there. But were there men that had an agenda because there were celebrities in there? Were there guys that paid to play in the tournament, and they paid to play in the tournament for the shower scene? I don't know. It never crossed me, because I've never strayed the heterosexual line. But those are things that later on, as this stuff all started coming up, and I started to really have to take a look at it, I thought, oh gosh, that's funny, because I know that there were guys. I know guys in the NFL. I know guys in pro baseball. I know guys in every pro sport. Having been somebody who worked at ESPN for years, and then I was on Fox on Best Damn Sports Show, period. And I'm pretty savvy for an actor about sports. And there were guys I knew were gay. I wasn't going to report about it or out them, but I knew they were gay for sure. What was that like for them? What's that like to be gay? It's not something I think most run out and talk about. I don't think that they do that, but this has gotten a lot of attention. And like I said, some of them are just no-brainers. So one of the things that came to my mind was the weight classes. And I'll tell you, I'll draw the analogy, but weight classes exist in certain sports, primarily combat sports like boxing and wrestling, to ensure fair competition by matching athletes of similar size and weight, preventing a heavier athlete from having an unfair advantage over a smaller opponent, thus promoting safety and strategic gameplay rather than rely solely on the brute strength. Essentially, it levels the playing field for athletes of different body types. When I wrestled in high school, this year I was on the wrestling mat at Milton High School here in Georgia, with two of the high school kids, and they were just big, strong kids. I'm 64 years old, and my wife said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I gotta get out there every once in a while. I try to help the heavyweight guys out. We wrestle a little different than the more skilled wrestlers. Not that there aren't very talented heavyweights, but anyone's a wrestler knows that, when you're a heavyweight, you want to have two really good takedowns, two really good escapes, two pinning combinations. Work those really, really well. Don't start worrying about getting too fancy and doing the things that some of these smaller guys can do. There are some heavyweights who can do that. I did a lot of moves that weren't stereotypical or traditional for somebody who was a heavyweight, because I think probably because I was a pretty good athlete, and I could get away with doing those types of moves. Not the average guy. So I went down to the wrestling room to work with these guys, but we wrestle in a weight class. I'm not taking a 140, 150, 160 pound guy at 230 pounds and throwing him around the room, because how would that be fair? How would that be fair that I'm 100 pounds or 75 pounds or even 40 pounds more? That's not fair. So an equally skilled wrestler at 190 versus 140, the 190 pounder is going to bury him. Even a guy that's a much better wrestler, he may hang in there for a little while, but eventually the big guy, if he's decent, is going to wear you away. So they put it in weight classes. In boxing, the same. If I'm going to swing at you, and I'm going to swing at you at 230, the impact of that punch, it may not be as fast and all this other stuff about your boxing skills. But when I clobber you even through your gloves at 230, you're going to feel it like you never felt it before. So we put them in weight classes to level the playing field. Isn't this the same thing? Isn't this the same thing? Take a look at the clip again of Chappelle, as funny as he's trying to be and a little Neanderthalic and blah, blah. If LeBron James decided that he at 45, he's done the run now, he's gone the longest ever, he's scored all the points he wants to do, he's proven everything he wants to, and he goes, you know what, I identify as a woman now. What do you think would happen if LeBron played in the WNBA? Now, there's some really, really super talented women playing in that league. What do you think would happen if LeBron posted up on Caitlin Clark or any of them? LeBron would score, at 45 years old. If he wanted to score 100 points a game, he would. He would shatter every record. And that's at 45. I'm not talking about LeBron at 30. Now, LeBron, he's still pretty good anyway, amongst the men. But you get the point. You get the weight class, you get the divisions, you understand why we're doing this. Why would anyone, really anyone, why would anyone look at that and say, yeah, no, that's crazy. Why would you let that happen? Why would this woman ever be able to compete at the collegiate level in any event against women when she was born a man? I'm dumbfounded how the governor of Maine is saying, well, we'll see you in court, and we're going to see, I'm going to follow the law, and what about what's right? What does your heart tell you is right? And there's a lot of fodder out there about people that are, saying this is ridiculous, this is silly, why are we even having this argument? I'm kind of one of those. I'm looking at it, and now that this incident took place in the White House with Mills from Maine, who, by the way, I can't help but watch it at the end when Trump goes, I did pretty good in that state. I'm paraphrasing. I did pretty good in that state. But what's your career going to be after election, after your elected life? Because I don't think you're going to get elected again in Maine. In that moment, did this woman flush her whole career down? Is there enough support in the state of Maine for people that actually believe that men born, a human being born a man with male genitalia, so therefore testosterone coursing, larger lungs, larger heart, all these different physiological advantages that we've identified scientifically, they're not arguable. We're not going to get into that because it is what it is. Are there enough people in Maine that really, has this become the migratory, like Haight-Ashbury for hippies and, Maine? Hello? Cape Elizabeth, love you. Augusta, spent lots of time on the shore and in the Cape up in Maine over the years. And I did not know that there was so much support. Not for transgenders. Listen, I have nothing against that. Nothing against it. Those are your decisions. I believe what I believe. Just like if someone's Jewish, just like someone's a Buddhist, I have members of my own family that by now would have had a Bible out and they would have been telling you why you're going to go to hell. Why one particular member and his wife would be telling you what you are just absolutely heading to the fire, man. If you don't do it exactly the way they believe, if you don't do it the way they interpret the words in the Bible, not there is no interpretation. You are done, and I don't do it that way. I don't do it that way. I know what I read in the Bible. I know that I'm a Christian. I know that in my sober life, where I help other people try to get what I have. I know that as a pastor in the Christian community, when I'm speaking about my personal journey with Jesus Christ, I share what I know. I don't share things and judge people. I don't. I really don't. So I always say this. One day we're going to find out. One day, if you believe what I believe, you're going to go up there and they're going to say, whether you get in or you don't, period. Are you going to be invited into the gates? And did you do enough of the things that it said in that book. I don't know. Is there a scorecard? Again, I don't know. I know what I believe. So people that did not follow the path that I believe Christ put before us are going to have to answer for that. And again, maybe there's a mezzanine level. Maybe I don't know. I haven't gone yet. But when I go, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get in. I'm pretty sure that if there's a review board, or if you face the man right then and there, he's going to say, wow, what a great start you had. You fumbled there for a little while. You know, you did. You dropped the ball a few times. But what a nice comeback you had. How much service you provided other human beings, because it's so much about serving God. It really is. It's the most important thing in my life. You know, my wife will sit there and say, no, it's God and then us and then the kids. And she goes through and we talk about the Bible and how it's written and what we're supposed to be doing to support each other and blah, blah. So I don't want to get into a hugely religious thing, but I didn't realize Maine had this huge following. Maybe this Janet Mills lady has like a large number of the 20%. The 20 or 21%. Let me explain why. Because it's changed. A large majority of Americans now, 69% in 2021's, larger now, 69% now to 2021's 62%, say transgender athletes should only be allowed to compete on sports teams that conform with their birth gender. Likewise, fewer endorsed transgender athletes being able to play on teams that match their current gender identity, 26% down from 34%. So in 2021, 62% had a problem with this whole transgender thing competing. Now that went up to 69%. It doesn't say the exact, and I don't have the date, but listen to this. The Center Square, surveying nearly an equal number of Republicans and Democrats, a poll taken by the New York Times and polling companies LPSOS showed that the majority of Americans do not want transgender identifying men in women's sports. Of those surveyed, 79% answered that men should not compete in women's sports when posed with the following question. Thinking about transgender female athletes, meaning athletes who were male at birth, but who currently identify as female, do you think they should or should not be allowed to compete in women's sports? So we're now at almost 80%. Almost 80. So like I said, it's kind of, now when I say a no-brainer for me, you know, should rapists be punished? Should murderers, but, you know, like just really generic stupid in some ways. And I don't mean to call anyone stupid of this 21% that still evidently is out there, but how is that possible that 21% of the people out there don't see just how ridiculously unfair it would be for a man, even if he identifies as. So where does that begin and end, this identification thing? Where does that begin and end? So if I identify as a cop, can I pull people over and arrest them? If I identify as X, you know, if I like, but you may feel this trap thing, which is a very personal thing for you, but you're not a woman. You were born a man. There was a great play. It was back in late 70s, early 80s, I believe. It was called Your Arms Are Too Short to Box with God. Now think about that saying for a minute. Your arms are too short to box with God. You're not going to win that fight. Why don't you identify that right off the bat? If God, an act of God, or a rule of God, or God decides to intervene, or God has a say in it, or God, you don't have a chance. Not if you believe what I believe. Not if you believe what most people believe, whoever their God is. If it's God, you're toast. You're absolutely toast. Ergo, your arms are too short to box with God because you're not going to be able to even get a single punch in there. You don't have a chance. This is the same. God created you as a woman. God created you as a man. Why are you trying to fight that? Now, this self-identification thing and how you want to live your life, but how do you get to impede your self-identification on somebody else's will or somebody else's set of circumstances? That's not fair. It's not fair. It's the same as a big giant heavyweight guy going to the Olympics and saying, hey, I don't want to wrestle him anymore. I want to wrestle him. And looking down at the 140 pounder and saying, I want a gold medal really bad, so I'm going to wrestle him. Too bad what your rules are. Too bad what the weight class is and the system is. And I identify as a 140 pounder. What do you think of that? That's a great analogy, actually. It just came to me right now while I'm talking to you. I identify as a light guy. I identify as a featherweight. So I want to box the littlest guy for the gold medal. I don't want to box that big guy anymore. What do you mean? I identify as a lightweight. I feel light. I feel like I can relate to them. I feel like I've been a small person trapped in a big person's body my whole life. This food that I ate and these clothes that I had to wear to, conform to your society and cover my genitalia with pants that were big enough. I don't want those anymore. I want to be free. I want to be a lightweight. And I want his medal. Sounds silly, huh? Sounds a little silly, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's funny because Andy Murray, he was been joking about myself and him playing a match, and I'm like, Andy, seriously, like, are you kidding me? Because for me, tennis and men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Because no, it's true. It's true.
Honestly, really.
It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game. And I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you kill me.
So there's Serena, arguably the greatest female tennis player to ever play the game before. Do you think that Serena wants to admit that anyone can beat her? Have you ever watched this woman play? Have you ever watched her dominance? I mean, how good she is. How good she was when she was in her prime. Like, people just would, they'd go out there and they'd be like, oh God, Serena, maybe she'll get hurt. Maybe she'll decide not to come this year. Maybe she was like a train coming in to run you over. That's how different it was. Even her own sister, after a while, Venus, who was very, very good, and certainly has the credentials and the majors. But Martina, none of them. Chrissy Everett, this one, that one, blah blah. None of them. This is the greatest female tennis player ever. If I played Andy Murray, now at the time, Murray, I don't know if Murray ever made it to number one. He might have just for a small window, but he had problems trying to get past Federer and trying to get past, a few guys that held him at number 5, for, I think it was around where he was, his average for about 4 or 5 years. Very good player, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a big Murray fan, but no, he was never the best one. If I played Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0. And notice how she quotes a female match. 6-0, 6-0. She didn't quote a male match, which is best out of 5. So the men play longer. The men can play, if it goes 2-2, and then they can play all 5. Women can play 3 if it goes 1-1, and then the deciding set. Interesting, she quoted what it would take to lose as a woman because she played as a woman, because Andy Murray would kill her. The fact of the matter is, and I'd be willing to, well, I guess we're never really going to know, but if you took the number 50 guy, the 50th greatest player at any time, and put him out there with the spin and the velocity and the speed and the strength, he would also probably beat Serena. Would Serena win a couple games maybe against number 50? I guess possibly, but probably not much. I mean, it's that much of a difference. It's like I said before about LeBron playing in the WNBA. Are there great female players? There's great female players. If you put them in an NBA game, they would get crushed. They wouldn't score at all. Could they chuck up a bomb somewhere maybe, or maybe get a loose rebound and before anyone got to it? Yeah, I guess that kind of thing. But you get the point. They would get beat up. I mean, it would be really difficult, and they would never make a team. The greatest female player ever, never would make, is better than the worst man ever. He would kill her in a game. So why are we having this conversation? I'm not sure. That was part of what I was trying to identify with. I was trying to look at who's that 21%? Who are the people that I could sit across from and say, do you really believe that it's fair to have this man identify as a woman, his right, but to compete against all these other biologically born women? Where is that? Explain that to me. And I've yet to meet a single person, not one person that could explain it or that could wrap it up for me. I guess they're out there because look at these polls that I'm quoting. I mean, I'm quoting polls in 2021 at 62%. It moved up to 69%. Now it's at 79%. So I guess people are kind of thinking about it more and maybe not just throwing it away. But this is not the first time this ever happened. This is not the first time we're looking at this. Actually, one of the first times I recall it as an athlete, I was 16 years old. I was born in 1960. In 1976, let me read to you about a name that popped up that I went back to look at because I was like, what was that tennis player's name? The one that was the doctor. Dr. Renee Richards. Renee Richards is an American ophthalmologist and former tennis player who was successful on the professional circuit in the 1970s. She was a pioneer of trans women's rights when she fought to compete as a woman in the 1976 US Open. She was initially denied and took the case to the New York Supreme Court and won, setting a new precedent for people who are trans. So this was a man, born a man, decided after playing, I'm pretty sure Dr. Richards played professionally, but certainly in college and tour. No, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't have the material right in front of me, but Renee Richards played professionally in club tournaments and different stuff, but I think there was money involved, so that made her him a pro. Before, it was Renee playing under the male identity that he was born with, and then decided that he was going to make the transition and thought, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and try to enter the US Open. Got some support from, I think, Billie Jean King, ended up coaching Martina Navratilova till Martina jumped into the number one position. So Dr. Richards was around. It was very topical. It was very controversial. I think one of the reasons that Renee Richards was able to gain some popularity is the US Open was in New York, big city. If there was ever going to be a place that you were going to pull this off of in the 70s, it was New York. So there was a following, where there's a lot of gay pride and a lot of stuff going on there. But here's the bigger reason. I think Richards ran into Virginia Wade, who was a powerhouse British player. She refused to take the chromosome test or some test that you had to take that the USTA decided to make players take, and she refused to take it. So that's where the court case came. We're going to prove that you are not qualified physiologically to play as a woman. Somehow she won this case or this quick decision by the judge, and she ran into Virginia Wade. who was arguably out of Great Britain, one of the best of the time. And Wade, disposed of her quickly, 6'1", 6'3", or something like that, or 6'0", 6'3", but knocked her out pretty quickly. So she wasn't a threat. See, here's another thing. If this is going to be, you're going to have a player on a volleyball team. I know there was a controversy out in the West Coast with Nevada, Reno, or UC something California team that had a trans volleyball player, and he was really good actually. Like, he was going to change the way the NCAA tournament turned out, and some teams boycotted playing against this team because they felt the same way I did. Why would you allow this player to play? If Dr. Richards was Andy Murray, if Dr. Richards threatened to win the US Open, if Dr. Richards was going to take a scholarship away from a female, or an NCAA title, or a world championship, or an Olympic gold medal, then you would see a lot of people getting upset about it. You would see a lot more people. But because Renee Richards wasn't that great a player, and I'm not taking anything away from Dr. Richards, but that's why I believe she was able to, she wasn't a threat. So it brought more attention to transgenderism, and it brought more attention to a number of issues society-wise for people who have this struggle of feeling like they're stuck in the wrong sex's body. It brought attention to it, but it wasn't a pressure cooker in sports yet, because she wasn't going to beat anybody that was significant. She wasn't going to win a lot of money doing it either, because she wasn't able to beat, even the decent female player. So she wasn't a threat. When you start winning NCAA titles and you're the father, think about this for a minute. Think about why it matters more than just the athlete. So my kid goes to camp. She's not a super serious volleyball player. I don't think she'll probably play in college. I don't think that's what she does it for. I think she likes the camaraderie, and she likes to be on the team and so on. And I'm proud of her. She's going to do her thing her way. But if I'm with that kid that's a threat to win a medal, that's a threat to make an Olympic team, that could go pro, in whatever the sport is, or Olympic medal kind of level, track and field, whatever the sport is. And I'm in that car in the winter, taking her, to the figure skating practice up in Syracuse, New York, and battling through the snow and the weather and the money and the travel and the competition and the coaching and the nutrition. And as it gets to be a higher level, and you want to compete in some of these sports, it's quite costly and time consuming. And what do you say to your kid who might actually win a medal? What do you say to your kid who says, "Daddy, I really want to do this"? You got to go do it, or you do the best you can, to try to promote them and support them and so on. And then you're going to turn around and you're going to go to college when it's the time to shine in the tennis finals, and you're going to have your daughter play a guy and not be upset about it. You're going to see your daughter lose to a naturally born man who identifies as a woman, and you're not going to be furious about that? What about all those years? Jennifer Capriati, the Florida tournaments and the coaching and these gymnastic girls, that were coached by Bella, and they went all these years since they're little tiny girls, little kids, boys and girls, but especially the girls that start doing those flips and stuff at 7, 8, 9, and they train all those years. You're going to lose a medal? How long before we're going to allow a male to come in and do the balance beam, or to do the whatever it's going to be? I don't know, but that's not right. That's not right. That's not what God intended, because your arms are too short to box with God. Period. It's a God thing. Why would you fight it? Support your kid, support your athlete, support your loved one, whatever it is, the best you can within the sex that they were born, or create some kind of a league, create some kind of situation where they can go and they can compete amongst themselves that doesn't put an unfair advantage over the other athlete who is just playing by the rules. But I got to tell you something. I want to meet some of the 21%. I do. I want people to write in. Listen, do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click on the links that are available to you. Maybe we could flash them up now. And at the end, too, there'll be opportunities for you to subscribe to this and to and follow and all that, and share it, please, and do all that stuff. But definitely subscribe, because we have a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to start doing that you should take a look at. Bonus stuff and ways to get some really neat connections with what we're doing right here. And I want to hear from you. So I really do want, particularly if you're one of the people, or you know someone, or you can experience and share with each other, who are these people that think that this is fair? And maybe explain why you think that it would be fair for someone who was born a man to compete with a bunch of girls. How is that fair? And I don't mean to say that please don't, what I don't want to hear is, who do you think you are, and girl power, and but listen, I didn't say, I'm in awe. I watch the WNBA. I watch how those girls play now. And believe me, there's been an evolution in the level of their play. I mean, when you go back to when I played in high school, girls were, they were shooting from their chest, and it was nothing compared, to how these girls play now. How graceful, how they drive, how they handle the ball, how they can jay from deep outside. I mean, just amazing, amazing athleticism, and really just a pleasure to watch that level, So I'm not, don't come at me with that nonsense, because I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying it's not the same as the men, and it's unfair to the girls. Ask any, like you saw the Serena clip, ask any of these girls, ask some of the best in Reese and some of these girls that play, who get out on the court and play with men. They play pickup with guys that aren't in the NBA, or maybe even in the NBA, but they'll tell you, unless they're just being ridiculous, we would get our asses kicked if we played. Why do we want that? Where are the people to write in to explain to me why you think that that's cool? Why you think that that's fair? What is the governor of Maine thinking? That all Trump was trying to do was protect these girls. But, and again, WNBA basketball players are pretty savvy. They know what time it is. They've been around. They, played in the league for a while, and they get it. They understand this is a professional sport, and they know why they're not playing the men. They probably don't want to play the men. So why is the governor of Maine fighting a federal signed law? Like, what is she thinking? What could she possibly hope to gain? I put it out there, like I said in the beginning of the show, because I don't get this one. I don't get who is it that opposes it? Besides, maybe the guy who couldn't get it done, amongst other guys, and decided, is it really, and again, I'm not accusing this, is it really because they identified so much, or because by making the transition and identifying as a woman, you put yourself in a position now to win gold medals, or you put yourself in a position now to break records, or does that get an asterisk next to it? Oh, asterisk for this NCAA title was a guy, again, when does the logic of it take over the emotion of it? This is kind of a no-brainer for me. But again, I'm not a transgender athlete. I'm not a gay athlete. I'm just a regular guy who does not get this one. And I want to hear from the 21 percenters. I want you to write in. I want you to talk amongst each other. I want you definitely to subscribe, hit the subscribe button so we can start to build this relationship communication-wise with each other. Because again, this is one of those where I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go upstairs. We're going to start to edit it and put different things in there and everything. And I'm going to sit here going, how this is just like a no-brainer. You know, this is kind of crazy. So I don't get it. I can't relate to it. I want to hear from you. I want you to explain it to me. I want you to try to. You're not going to win me over. I promise you that. This is just, you know, doesn't make enough sense to me. But I want to understand. Try to better understand your logic. Where's the resistance on it? How do we not know? This is like watching in a different way. So try to understand this. This is like watching a big bully beat up a kid. You know, like a 15-year-old walk in the cafeteria, and he sees a 9-year-old who's much smaller and just smacks the shit out of him. And you go, well, you know, he was sitting at the wrong table, and he like. I remember my father. I'll never forget this. I'll never forget. I was a scrapper as a kid, and when my parents they took us to a place called Lobel's. I don't know if anyone remembers Lobel's. I'll never forget how brilliant this was of my father because of how he set me up to really understand it. And I had a fight, like another fight. I was a disproportionately larger kid, so I grew really fast. I was as big as my older brother Alec. By the time I was 9, I was about his size. And he was 2.5 years older than me. So I grew very quickly. But a lot of older kids felt threatened by that. So they would come at me, and I never backed down. I always, I had an older brother that would toss me around and beat me up for a lot of years. So I knew what that was like to have somebody bigger and older, take advantage of me, physically. Which is just the nature of brothers. I did that with Billy and Stephen, and we all fought each other. We were pretty Irish, Catholic. So we fit the mottos. But anyway, I remember I came home and you only got 2 pairs of pants and a couple shirts and a pair of sneakers and shoes, every year. Like there was a certain amount of stuff for school that you got, some T-shirts and blah blah, and that was it. So my mom was sewing patches in the knees, and we would destroy our clothes, and there wasn't going to be another pair. There was a certain amount that they had. My father was a school teacher with 6 kids, but he'd be pissed if you ripped up your stuff. So I had a fight, and I ripped the knee out. And my mother said, Daniel had another fight, and I got a report from school, whatever. And I remember my father turned and I said, "Hey, come here for a minute." And he walked me out and shut the front door and sat down on the stoop. We lived at Iroquois Street in Massapequa, New York. And he said, "Do you have a fight at school today?" And I said, yeah, but Dad, and so my father's rule was you couldn't hit somebody first, but if he hit you, green light, you could take him out. So I will admit that I would go, oh yeah, and I'd get really close to somebody and try to get him to take a swing at me because I wanted to fight him. I didn't like the guy, or he did something to one of my friends, but I had to get hit first or swung on, or my father would have been really pissed. I would have got it. And my father, he ruled that house with an iron fist, and particularly with me. He would be physical with me. So I did not want to get caught on the wrong side of that. So I would make sure they took a swing at me. But once they took a swing at me, I was able to, I was probably like 12 when this happened, probably 6th grade or something like that. And he said, "Did you win?" I remember looking at him thinking, was this a trick question, or why wasn't he not mad? Like I was ready to get smacked for ripping the pants and having a fight. He said, "Did he swing at you first or hit you first?" I said, "He did. He pushed me," and my father went, okay. "And you won? You beat him?" And I went, he goes, "Did you beat him?" And he said it with like this sly, and I went, "Yeah." He goes, "I never heard my father curse. My father didn't curse. Certainly not to us. I mean, I don't know if I ever heard him say damn, but he said, 'Did you kick his ass?' I remember he asked me if I kicked this kid's ass. And I was like, I went, yeah. He goes, "Did you get hurt?" Are you hurt anywhere? I said, no. Is he hurt? Did you hurt him? I said, yeah, I hurt him. He goes, that's not a fight. You didn't have a fight. You're a bully. You beat up a kid. You knew he wasn't going to be able to hurt you. You knew a fight is when two people confront each other and both of them get hurt and they know that the outcome is in doubt. You knew you were going to beat that kid up. You beat him up. You're a bully. And he got up and he walked away. I remember how my ego was so full. My father wanted to know if I kicked this kid's ass. Like he was checking in to make sure I had it. And, you know, and he was smiling a little bit, snicker, sly little smile when I said, yeah, I kicked his ass. And he was like, yeah. And then he called me a bully. And he was right. There wasn't a chance this kid was going to hurt me. I knew that. I wanted him to swing on me so I could kick his ass. Like, you know, the crowd around, they made a big circle. Come on, fight on the way home. Down Encore Road as we're working on. We used to go to Ralph Stanzione's front yard because it was just a few houses away from the school, far enough from the school that the crossing guard and officials from the school would see. And that's where we'd meet and have our fights. That's where we'd meet. And I met this kid and I beat him up. I was a bully. This is the same to me. This is the same trip. Did you kick his ass? I'll never forget he taught me that lesson. I never got in a fight ever for the rest of my life that I went after a guy that I knew I could beat his ass. I never the rest of my life. I would hold him down, or I would, not really go at him, because I knew that, I'd make sure I didn't get hurt if I was being aggressed, but never again. Very, very valuable lesson that I learned from my father. Same goes here. Why would you want to be a man competing against women? Why would you want that? Write it in, subscribe, hit that subscribe button and follow and share this, please, because we are building an army of people that want to talk about just real life stuff. So as you know, I end my shows in prayer. I know that that's not necessarily your thing, or maybe it is, but if it's not, it's time to turn off your dial. Hit your remote, switch your phone, do whatever you have to do, because I am going to pray. And for those people that are with me on prayer, then join in or just listen. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the guidance that you provide us every day, and the abundance and the safety and the clarity and the life that you give us, Lord. We love you, Jesus Christ, and we thank you. We pray for each other, God, that even these people that maybe have lost their way some, or these people that are struggling with their sexual identity, I pray for them, God. I pray that they find you. There is one, he is Jesus Christ. May you find him today. And so I'm going to reach out, God, and say, please shepherd these people in and let them know you more and let them know their Bible more. And perhaps they won't struggle as much with knowing who they are and what they are. Perhaps what they will find out is that they are sons and daughters of Jesus Christ, the Almighty, the greatest, the most powerful, the man. Amen. So, praise God. Have a great week. I will be in LA. I'll be in LA. Will I be in LA next? I think I'm going to be in LA over the weekend because I believe I'll be at the Oscar parties, going in for the Academy Awards, flying in with my wife. You know what's really hard about flying in with my wife to these events? So she's looking, I'm just going to get this tux and try to suck off 5 quick pounds before I get there so I can pretend that I'm dashing and handsome again. But my wife puts on the whole outfit, and no one pays any attention to them there anymore. They're like, who's the old guy walking with that hot chick? You know, my wife is so beautiful, and she's got this dress that I helped pick out, by the way. But she has this dress, and she does the hair, and she does the whole, you know. It's like, check, please. Bring the car now. Yeah, I can't match up with it. You can't match up. So, you know, we don't do a lot of this kind of stuff. We don't. We have baby, and we're pretty simple. We hang out here. My wife's a lawyer, and you know, she does all her law stuff, and we don't get out that much. But we're gonna go. We're gonna be out in the West Coast. So I think I'm gonna do the show. I think I'll do the show. I think I do the show from the West Coast. If not, I do it from here and then travel on Friday, because I think the Oscars are on Sunday. No, I'll probably do the show from here, but it'll be like getting ready to go to the airport and go. So I think I do the show from here, but Oscars, and I'll do some clips, some stuff, maybe get a sneak preview of Dee's dress and some different fun stuff that we're gonna go do, because we are going to LA for the Oscars, to one of those big Oscar party shows, blah, 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 blah. So that should be fun. I will see you guys on Friday. God bless you.